All right, everybody. It's your boy Priest King Tony. As they say, the brackets are set. So I want to do a little small first round preview. I thought about doing my picks round by round, but I think it's more fun. We go through each round as they happen. So then we can come back and see where I was wrong, where I was right. What do we I think it makes a more fun projection later on down the line. We saw the play-in games was exciting. We had mostly good play-in games, but we had that one dud at the end. OKC got beat up on. They just look young. At the end of the day, they just really look young. So it was a good experience for him. I wish Chet could have got to play because that would have been a good experience for him. Just a couple of minutes. If he healthy, like the rumblings are saying, it would have been a good thing for him to just get a little bit of playoff experience. But that team has a bright future. Shea is an absolute beast. I like the pieces that they got around him. Josh Giddey is beginning to come into his own. I think they really have a bright future ahead of them. But tonight they just got spanked, man, and we're gonna get through these matchups, and I think some other people gonna get spanked too. With respect, spoiler alert, with respect to these guys being professionals, I'm not gonna declare any sweeps, but I do have some gentlemen sweeps in here. But because they are professionals, I would give them the benefit of the doubt to say they will get one game, at least one. But we know somebody might get swept. And some of these matchups are really lopsided on paper. So we're gonna see how those things unfold. But let's get into this first matchup. First matchup we got on the west side. We got the 1 versus the 8 Denver Nuggets versus the Minnesota Timberwolves, who was the ones who beat up on the Thunder tonight. It's gonna be an interesting series because I initially thought the Lakers was the best matchup for the Nuggets. But of course, the Lakers ended up getting the 7th seed. But now that the Nuggets ended up having to face the Wolves do have size to combat the Joker. But I think the Wolves just is a dumb team, man. Like they basketball IQ collectively is so low. Even with the addition of Kyle Anderson, I think they just gonna and Mike Conley, of course. I think it's just so tough for me to be able to see them winning this series with how dominant Joker has been, how dominant the Nuggets have been. Even though I do see them more as a regular season team, as a playoff team, but we'll get to that in future videos. But I think in this matchup, you're gonna have Ant and his experience he had last year. I think tonight showed that he can bounce back from a bad performance. He can show up for the big game and play better. And I think with the lingering issues that he have, that they're talking about with him experiencing certain injuries and his body being banged up. But you know how they say at this time of the year, pretty much everybody is banged up. Nobody's just 100% fresh, outside of maybe Andrew Wiggins at this point. But I think in this matchup, I think even when we look at the picture, you see Joker just smiling, man, because I think he's just gonna have his way. I think he's gonna really be able to exploit the bigs. And if people not familiar with our Bump Your Guns podcast, which will be coming back soon. This is an excerpt of Bump Your Guns, if you will. I really believe Rudy Gobert is overrated as a defender. I think, of course, he's big. Of course, he deters shots. But in a pick and roll heavy league, he is not a good pick and roll defender. And I think him having to guard Joker, and then even if they try to cross match it and have Cat holding him, I know he a grown man, but Cat is soft. Gobert really is soft. They just big. And we see time and time again, Cat comes out, he's gonna be aggressive at the beginning. Even last year in the Memphis series, we saw he'll be aggressive, he'll be dominating, and then he'll just be gone. When the game gets physical, as it tends to do in the playoffs, he has yet to show that he can respond. Now, of course, last year's experience will help them this year, with having, Ant being basically the lead dog and then still being young, the experience last year will help them this year, but it's hard for me to see any real threat to the Nuggets with this team. So my first one, I got the Nuggets in 5, man. I got the Nuggets in 5. Like I said, with all due respect, because these guys are professionals. I don't want to say they don't get swept, but this Nuggets team is for real. And even last year they was good, but of course they had the injuries to their second and third best player with Jamal Murray and MPJ being hurt, but now they back. And the team that's shaped around them has been balling for them, even with losing guys like Will Barton. The team is still together. The team is still cohesive. It's a well-coached team under Mike Malone. I think when it's all said and done, this is going to be a short series. Yeah, I would be surprised if it went 6. I would be really super duper surprised if it went 7. But I really see Nuggets either sweeping these guys or winning in 5. But out of respect, I'm gonna call it in 5. Nuggets in 5. 1-8 on this side. Head-to-head season, we see it was 2-2, just like the last one, and just like the last series. I don't think this is gonna be competitive. Now we know these people. This matchup has some playoff history because I believe the year that the Heat went to the finals, they put the Bucks out. Then the next year, the Bucks put them out on their way to the finals and winning the finals. And I think because the Heat are so disciplined and so physical, it allows them to stay competitive. But this Heat team has a major issue that it's been having even in the finals run year, is that they just struggle so much with scoring. Like, it's so hard for them to score. Jimmy Butler has to go off in order for them to be able to consistently generate points. Even when you factor in Tyler Hero and Max Strus and Vincent and all these guys who have become better shooters, but they're not really just knockdown shooters. Hero can create for himself a little bit. And of course you have Bam Adebayo, who is more of a defensive center in my mind. He falls into that archetype more, but he can score as well. But because of the makeup, and of course Kyle Lowry, the veteran, because of the makeup of the team, you don't really see them being able to score a lot with these more high-powered teams. And I think that's why we saw them regress so much this year. And we saw last year they was one shot away from going to the finals, and now this year they had to win the second game after they lost the play-in game to even get in and be the 8th seed. This Milwaukee Bucks team, Giannis is a perennial MVP candidate, so we know that he is going to be dominant. Giannis is going to be dominant. He always is. Even this matchup, they can put Bam on him, and it'll kind of slow him down, give him some trouble, but the guy is just phenomenal. He's perimeter Shaq is what I call him. He's Shaq that plays on the perimeter. So I think with the combination of the Heat struggling to score as they have shown that is a consistent thing that they do, and then with Milwaukee being so cohesive, even though we know in the last, I think it was in the last regular season game, Chris Middleton, who has been dealing with injuries seemingly all year, even going back to last year when he missed the playoffs, you see Middleton had messed up his knee. He had a non-contact injury with his knee. It haven't been a lot of talk about it, so I don't really know what his status is going to look like. But I think because Drew Holiday has stepped up so much, and then even Brook Lopez, they announced today that he was a candidate for Defensive Player of the Year. I think with them two and Giannis, I think it would be enough to easily overcome Miami. Even when you take into account all the other people that's gonna play, just that big three, if you will, big three, just that trio of players, I think it's gonna be too much for Miami to overcome. Miami is always a well-disciplined team. I love their organization. I love how they go about themselves, but sometimes it just is what it is. So we're gonna call this series Bucks and 5, man. Bucks and 5. I hate to say it. I love Jimmy, from the H, but at the end of the day, man, them boys, it's just not a good matchup for them this year. So we'll see what happens. I know the competitive spirit is always there with Miami. They fight. They got G League players. They got players that they got from the G League who now they're NBA players, but because of the competitiveness and of course Eric Spoelstra being such a good coach, that's what gives them an edge a lot of times to overachieve what it looks like they should be achieving on paper. So we'll see. This, it could be a longer series just because of that, but I just see Bucks and 5. Bucks and 5. I don't see them being swept. This is the legitimate Bucks and 5, but I just don't see it going past that. 2-7. We got the Los Angeles Lakers taking on the Memphis Grizzlies. King James versus the real shooter, Ja Morant. We see that season head to head. It was 2-1 Lakers, but I think Ja didn't play in the last one. I think this is a very interesting matchup. You see a lot of the talking heads already picking the Lakers. I think a lot of it is just due to the respect that LeBron James has because he is LeBron James. At the end of the day, I mean, we can give so many superlatives to him, but it all can be summed up in that he is LeBron James. So with LeBron James, it's hard to just say that he's going to lose in the first round, even though we know they did lose to the Suns that year when AD got hurt. But I think even though LeBron James is the name of the team, it's LeBron James and the Lakers, this team is going to go as AD goes. If Memphis can corral AD enough, Jaren Jackson Jr. has to stay out of foul trouble. If they can corral AD enough, I think they can win this series. I think Ja Morant is going to be a real problem for them. They have feisty players like KCP that they can put on them. Austin Reeves probably get some minutes on them. They have bodies that can throw at Ja Morant, but that dude is electric, man. And it is I think the Lakers overall defensively will not be able to contain that team. When you think of Ja Morant and you think of Desmond Bane, and then even Jaren Jackson Jr. can be a reliable third scorer, I think it's just going to be too much for the Lakers. The Lakers have size at their advantage. The trades that they made at the deadline, it really helped them to have a more cohesive team, a more balanced roster, a more defensive-minded roster. When you think about guys like Jared Vanderbilt coming in and him being able to be like a modern-day Dennis Rodman, a modern-day enforcer-type presence that can come in, get timely buckets, get timely rebounds, and just be a steady force on the defensive end. It's easy to see a way the Lakers can win this series when you factor in even the experience that they have over the Grizzlies. That's a major factor too. But I think even last year with the Grizzlies having the experience of going to the second round, losing to the Warriors, I think they did learn something from that, and I think they'll be more poised this year. Even last year facing the Timberwolves, and they was down all them games. They really lost their series, but the Timberwolves are going to Timberwolves. Some kind of way the Timberwolves ended up losing their series after being up double digits multiple times, probably every game. If memory escapes me, but it seemed like every game they was up 20, and the Timberwolves has still lost their series. But I think the Grizzlies are going to be more prepared, even with the loss of Steven Adams and Brandon Clark, who are two key big men for them. I think they can overcome it in this series because I think the Lakers just don't match up well with them. They do, but they don't. I think Ja is the reason why it's just gonna not work for him because it's not gonna be no stopping that young man with the players that's on this roster. I think next year we'll see what they end up doing, but I think right now, if I had to call it today, I'm gonna go Grizzlies in 6, man. Grizzlies in 6. So I see it, man. Grizzlies in 6. I think I wouldn't be surprised if this went 7, but I can see the Grizzlies splitting at home, splitting in LA, and then winning 2 to finish the series off. That's how I think it's gonna go. I think they're gonna be. I think they probably win game 1 and lose game 2. But I'm excited because I do get to see playoff LeBron one more time because of how the team been the last couple of years. And with Westbrook, when Westbrook was on the team at the beginning of this year, I knew that they was going to be trash again. So with the trade, they was able to turn their season around, make it to the playoffs. So now we get to see playoff LeBron again. And I think because of everyone's respect for playoff LeBron, and we know the level that he raises himself to, that's the reason why a lot of people are picking the Lakers over the Grizzlies, but I got Grizzlies in 6. Boston and Atlanta in a 2-7 matchup on the East. Boston won the head-to-head 3-0 in the regular season. Trae Young is a problem. I will say that Trae Young, even though he had a rough season, inefficient season, I think because he sets the table so well, he's quick, he can get to the basket, finish inside. Of course, the 3 is always a threat. That gives them a chance to not get swept. In all honesty, I like the DeJounte Murray ad in the offseason. I think that that'll be a good duo. You got guys like Hunter on the wing. You got, of course, you got the big man Okongwu, and then you still got Clint Capella. I think they are a well-built team, but I don't know if they well-built enough to beat the Celtics team. I think the Celtics, I don't know if Jaylen Brown going to be a game 1 go or not because he cut his hand on a vase, whatever he was gardening. I agree with Chuck. Get somebody else to do that, or if it was Shaq, whoever said it, pay somebody to do that, man. I know you. That's probably something that you just passionate about or you like doing, but especially this close to playoffs, you don't want to injure yourself doing something like that. But I just don't see. The Celtics really are well coached. They are good at exploiting matchups, and it's going to be impossible to hide Trae Young because of the immense load that he has on offense. He has to be on the floor, and then of course he's not going to play all 48 minutes. But when he is on the floor, he is going to get exploited, and because of how well built this Boston team is, how good and disciplined they are, this Boston team is prepared for these guys. Even in the regular season, it was 3-0. And I think one of the games was a blowout. The other 2 might have been closer, but it's not looking like a good matchup for them. And I know they fought their way through the play-in. Yeah, the first game was in November. Boston won 126-101. The second one, Boston won 134-125 on March 11th. And then the last one was April 9th. Peyton Pritchard scored 30, so it probably nobody of importance really played. But because of the matchups, man, with the matchups, you got Marcus Smart, who's still a great defender. He is questionable in his shot selection a lot of the times, but the Celtics at this point, they're not a young team anymore. They are a veteran team. They know what it takes to get to the finals, and I think because of the loss and the way that they lost last year, I think they're going to be locked in. I think they're going to be ready to go, and they're going to take care of this team like they're supposed to take care of this team. With that being said, Celtics in 5, baby. Celtics in 5. I don't see it being a long series. I think Atlanta gets one at home, because that crowd, they have a great home crowd. I think that crowd will let them ride to victory. Somebody unexpected like Bogdanovich or somebody will go off and be the true third scorer that they need for that one game. And I see them getting that one. But I think the Celtics going to be locked in. I think they ready to go. I think they're hungry to get back to the finals because of not just the loss, but the way that they lost. I think they feel like they could have played better. They're capable of playing better, and they want a chance to redeem themselves. And the Hawks are not a good enough matchup to truly challenge them like some of the later teams will. Like I said, they are professionals, so we give respect where respect is due. But I think Boston is going to take care of this series quickly and be ready for the second round. All right, my boy, Steph Curry. We got number 3 on the West, Sacramento Kings, versus number 6 on the West, Golden State Warriors. Season head-to-head was 3-1 Golden State. I think the first 3 games was like at the beginning of the year, and then the last game, nobody really played for the Kings. The Warriors did because the Warriors needed to avoid the play-in. Yeah, the first 3 games was like the first 2-3 weeks of the season, and they played on April 7th, and the Kings bench pretty much played because none of the players of really consequence played for the Kings. You see my boy De'Aaron Fox face. That's how he gonna be looking after this series because they're gonna lose the series. I know the Kings are the hot team. We're proud of them. They finally made it after so many years. They finally got back. Mike Brown left the Warriors, took over the Kings his first year. They the 3 seed. They riding high. You know, they got the little thing at the arena when they win, light the beam and all that. They're not gonna be lighting the beam on this series. The Warriors are battle tested. They had a rough season. If you really look at the context of the season, you had Andrew Wiggins missed half of the season. Steph Curry missed a third of the season. Then we had Klay Thompson still working his way back, and now he looks like he's as close as he will ever be to his old self. And he probably is better than his old self in many respects offensively. Not really defensively, but offensively, it seems like he's more effective. He's a better table setter now. And then you still got Draymond Green. You got the defensive anchor. I think that trio, because of the experience that they have together with winning, they know what it takes once you get here. Because I think people sometimes look too much into the regular season, because when teams have won or when they're really a veteran team that know that they can turn it on when they need to, then I think those teams don't really take the regular season as serious. But if you look at the last month, the Warriors was one of the best teams on both sides of the ball. So I think they have flipped the switch already. I think they're gonna be ready to go. Andrew Wiggins coming back. They got defenders they can put on De'Aaron Fox. De'Aaron Fox, I think, led the league in 4-quarter scoring this year. They got shooters everywhere. They got Sabonis, who is going to be a problem inside for this Warriors team, who, as every other year, has a size problem. They had it last year. Most of their championship years, they really didn't have a big that could stay on the floor or that was going to be able to truly combat others. Even though you had Bogut was a defensive anchor. Bogut wasn't seeing the floor a lot when teams really tried to spread them out. And I think because you have GP2, you got Wiggins that you can put on De'Aaron Fox to slow him down, then that'll help to be able to stay more attached to Kevin Huerter, who is their sharpshooter that's really, one of their main shooters. Keegan Murray, you got Harrison Barnes, of course. So I think what gives what gives the Kings a more fighting chance is Mike Brown being their coach and them being so familiar with how the Warriors operate and things that they like to do. But I think it really doesn't matter because I think the league as a whole is familiar with the Warriors. They're going to run a motion system. They're going to run Steph Curry, Draymond pick and roll at certain times of the game to take advantage of certain coverages that they're seeing, whether they run a drop coverage. If they're trying to trap Steph, they can throw it to Draymond. Draymond can play 4-on-3. I think with the emergence of Jonathan Kuminga, getting GP2 back, Wiggins coming back, Dante DiVincenzo has had a great season. I think truly the Warriors probably have the best top 9 in the league that's left. So I think with that, the matchup with the combination of the inexperience of the Kings being at their first time really being here, outside of players like Harrison Barnes and Mike Brown being here before, the collective overall inexperience of the team would be too much for them to overcome in this series. I was talking to somebody and I likened this series to when the Thunder was playing the Lakers, when the Lakers was the true contenders, and then the Thunder was up and coming. They was young, they was feisty, but they was a good team. I think that's how this series is gonna go. It was a overall down year for the West. The Kings stepped up, they got the 3 seed, but I think because of the lack of experience, even with the obvious matchup advantage they have with Sabonis, because of his size, his footwork, he's not a typical NBA big today who can't back you down in a post. So when they get mismatches, it's going to be interesting to see, do they send doubles at him? How do they really guard him? Because he can play back to the basket and score. He's a good offensive rebounder, good defensive rebounder. So it's going to be an interesting matchup. But Steph Curry is that dude. At the end of the day, Steph Curry, people try to put Smith on his name, try to say De'Aaron Fox is the best player in the series. Come on now, let's be realistic. Let's be honest. He had a good year, but there's still Steph Curry. There still is Stephen Curry. And I think at the end of the day, that's going to be the difference. I think Jonathan Kuminga is the X factor. I think his athleticism and length will be a problem for the Kings. It's going to be a weapon that the Warriors can use that they haven't necessarily had in previous seasons. And I think because of his emergence this year, it helped them stay afloat a lot with Andrew Wiggins missing time. We know playoff Andrew Wiggins is different from regular season Andrew Wiggins. So if he can reach back to that level, I think it's going to be a good playoff run for the Warriors. So I guess y'all can kind of see where I'm going with it. Warriors in 6. I think the Kings will be able to win at least one home game, and they might steal one on the road. But we'll see. It's been a lot made about the Warriors' road record this year. One of the worst in the league, but they had one of the best home records in the league as well. And this Warriors team, under Steve Kerr, they have won at least one road game in every series. So that's the formula right there for them to repeat. They have to just win at least one road game and win their home games, and they can win series. So I think this is probably the best matchup for them. Getting Wiggins back, I think it would be a good way for him to steady himself, get his rhythm back. Not that it's an easy team, but it's one of the easier matchups because they have the experience factor. Now, De'Aaron Fox probably going to average 30, but Curry probably going to average 32 because De'Aaron Fox is really a good player. I think Kevin Huerter is a really good player. Keegan Murray, Harrison Barnes, Sabonis, obviously. But at the end of the day, I got Warriors in 6. The 3-6 on the East, Philly and Brooklyn. You see the season head-to-head, Philly swept them. I think Brooklyn is I don't want to say a fraud 6 seed, but Brooklyn benefits so much from how good the team record was before KD and Kyrie left. And I think because of that, it's hard to say. Because I think Embiid is going to win MVP. But man, Harden, man. It's just Harden. It's like I want to believe in Harden, but Harden has to play well for this team to go somewhere. For them to get where they're trying to go, you got players like Tyrese Maxey. Of course, you got What's my boy name? Tobias Harris. You got PJ Tucker, the hustle like no other. You got guys like that. There's veterans. They're gonna help out. They're gonna make sure that you get there. They're gonna make sure that they give the production that they're supposed to give. But it's just hard for me to bet on Harden. It's hard for me to bet on Harden. But in this particular matchup, I think even with Brooklyn getting some good pieces like Mikal Bridges, from the trade, trading KD and trading Kyrie, and then you still got Cam Thomas, who is a absolute bucket. He can get buckets. You got Patty Mills, Spencer. I think they got pieces, but they don't have pieces to beat this team. I think this team is on a mission. I think they're hungry. I think even with the lapses that I see coming, it's a Doc Rivers led team, so we know how they go with the wackiness of how their season seemed to end. I don't see it ending in this series. I think Philly has proven enough this year to get the benefit of the doubt that they're going to be ready to go when the ball is thrown up, when the playoffs start. I think Brooklyn is only here because of the hot start that they had, the head start that they had. I don't think that they're a true 6 seed. I don't think they're a true threat to actually beat the 76ers. So I think this should be a relatively easy series for them. But I'm going to go 76ers and 5. 76ers and 5, I think you have one game where Cam Thomas is just going to be unstoppable. He's just going to be scoring in every way possible that you can think of. And Mikal Bridges is going to be right there with him going in because they are a very competitive team. They fight. They're well coached. So I think they'll get one. But Joel Embiid is just going to be too much. I think he's the MVP this year. Pretty sure he's going to win it. They say voter fatigue is not real, but I don't see them allowing Jokic to be a 3-time MVP. I don't see it, especially not back-to-back. But I think because of the matchup, I just don't see Brooklyn really putting up a serious threat to them. I think the games might be close, but I see 76 and 5. The game's probably only be close, or I'm only giving it a chance of being close because it's a Doc Rivers led team, man. They just seem to implode at the worst time sometimes. So barring any injuries or not, I think Harden will play well enough. I think Embiid will play well enough that they take care of this team like they should. And it'll be 76ers and 5. All right, now it's getting juicy. Ooh-wee. We got Phoenix Suns versus the LA Clippers. They split the season head-to-head 2-2. I believe the first two Phoenix won was in the first half of the year. The two games that the Clippers won was in this calendar year, but Kevin Durant didn't play in either one of them. So, man, this is a tough one. This is a matchup that I wish Paul George was playing in. If Paul George was playing in this series, I would have them 100% winning this series. I think Phoenix lost a lot of depth in the trade to get KD, but that lineup, that big four that they have with KD, Booker, Chris Paul, and Ayton, I think it's devastating if they can just get Ayton to not be soft. If they can get Ayton to play big, and you can get a reasonable facsimile of a younger Chris Paul, as I should say, a younger version of Chris Paul, then I can see this team being serious contenders. But this Clippers team, led by Kawhi Leonard, is still a veteran-laden team. They've been playing together for years. Tyronn Lue, I would give the edge in coaching over Monty Williams. I think Tyronn Lue is an excellent coach at making adjustments. I think he's an excellent coach at exploiting mismatches. I think with Kawhi finally starting to look more like himself, it's a tough one. It's a tough one because you got Booker who gonna get buckets. Chris Paul sitting at the table. Aiden gonna be eating from the table that Chris Paul is sitting. And then after all of that, you still got the Slim Reaper out there getting buckets. Oh man, this series would be so much better if Paul George was playing. But I think Westbrook has rediscovered himself. I think Zubac is a good big man that can counteract what Ayton is doing. Man, it's a really good series. It's a true 4 or 5 matchup because it is so close in the matchups. Ooh, man, I'm struggling with this one. Because I like I said, if Paul George is playing, I would pick the Clippers. I think the Clippers, they've been together for years, although of course it's been injuries, load management, and all that, to where they just haven't played together, but they played together. So I think that cohesiveness, the depth that they have, they can go deep into their bench because they have a Morris twin on the bench who's barely getting minutes, but he's gonna play in the playoffs more than likely. I wish they would have kept Reggie Jackson, but I just think with Westbrook being there, I think we're gonna see a good version of Westbrook. I think I'm gonna call it, man. I think this is gonna be my shocking pick number 1. Clippers in 7, man. I got Clippers in 7. I was thinking about changing it. Whoo-wee, man. That's my out on the limb pick right there. I think Kawhi Leonard is gonna step up. I think we're gonna see a great version of Kawhi. I think Norman Powell is gonna step up. I think Zubac is gonna step up. I think they're gonna all want to win this series for Paul George. And I think it was a report that Paul George was eyeing coming back in the semis if they make it to the semis. I think it's gonna be a hard for a series. I think this probably is gonna be the best series. I like the matchup. The Clippers only really still have a chance because of how much depth they have, because the Suns do look on paper to be the clear favorite. Well, no, not the clear favorites. They're one of the favorites with the Bucks. The Bucks are the favorites to me. But I think the Suns just have so much firepower. It's so hard to bet against them. But I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna say Clippers in 7, man. I'm gonna see. I'm gonna roll with Clippers in 7. I'm a not chicken out. I'm gonna stand by Clippers in 7. Barring any injuries, if Kawhi start load management halfway through the series, then it is what it is. But I believe this team being together so long, having a coaching advantage, I'd see the Clippers taking it. Clippers in 7. The last matchup, the 4-5 in the East. Cleveland Cavaliers and the New York Knickerbockers. Season head-to-head was 3-1 New York. I believe this was another series where most of them was towards the beginning of the season. This is 2 teams who had terrific off seasons. The off-season additions showed up. They showed out. Julius Randle bounced back. The Cavaliers, Darius Garland, Evan Mobley being a Defensive Player of the Year contender. You still got my boy Jerry with the hair. I think the Cavaliers are a really well-built team, but I think the Knicks are too. But the Knicks just gonna be the Knicks, man. I can't really fathom picking the Knicks, even though Jalen Brunson proved last year that he is a big-time playoff performer. Julius Randle hasn't proven it yet. I think you got guys like Quickly that can step up, they can play a role, but overall, I think the Cavs been a more balanced team, a more well-constructed team, the additions, the overall package that they have, I think that's what gives the Cavs the edge to me. The Knicks had a good season. I think Jalen Brunson can show up, but I think if they can give Jalen Brunson in some switches too, he's just too little. At the end of the day, he's a hooper, he's a baller, he's competitive, so he's gonna go out there and play well. And I think Julius Randle, from the last time that they was in the playoffs, from the poor showing that he had, I think he's gonna play better. But I still see overall, I think the Cavs gonna win this series. So I got Cavs in 6. I think the Knicks will get some home court cooking. I think they will have some moments where somebody steps up, somebody plays big who you didn't expect, and that's going to help them get an extra win to not get gentlemen swept. But at the end of the day, I see the Cavs advancing to the second round. So I think the playoffs should have some exciting games because of how the matchups are. I think we probably see a lot of close games. I don't foresee a lot of series blowouts. You probably see some double-digit wins, like the team pulled away at the end. But I think all in all, it's going to be a good first round. And I think for my picks, that sets up Nuggets, Clippers in the second round. It sets up Warriors, Grizzlies in the second round. It sets up Milwaukee and Milwaukee and the Cavs in the second round. And then Philly and Boston in the second round. So we'll see how it goes, man. We'll see. This just the first round. We might come back, and if something happened in the middle of this round that we might need to update on, or some crazy moves go on, or crazy performances, something like that, I'll turn the camera back on, talk to y'all for a little bit. But that's my picks. That's how I see it's going to go. Spoiler alert, the Warriors are going to repeat. But we'll talk about that later. Shalom, everybody. Shalom.